नमस्ते गुरुजी, जय गुरुजी महाराज, जय गुरुजी संगत जी। आई हुई सभी संगत का शुक्राना मल्टीलिंगुअल ग्रुप प्लेटफॉर्म पर बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। आज हम सब मिलकर के एक बार फिर गुरुजी की कृपा से, गुरुजी की ही आदेश से रिस्पेक्टेड कमांडर शर्मा अंकल ने जो बुक लिखी है ब्लेसिंग्स रेडी फॉर डिविनिटी द डिवाइन बुक, इसकी रीडिंग करेंगे। और आज के सेशन के लिए मैं इनवाइट करूंगी एकता आंटी को, जो आज रीडिंग और नरेशन करेंगी। और चैप्टर का टॉपिक है गुरुजी द अमेजिंग शिवा। So with folded hands, Ekta Aunty ji, I would request you to please unmute yourself.
Jai Guruji. Thank you, Aunty. Jai Guruji, Sangatji. And Shukrana Guruji for this beautiful seva. And we'll start with the reading of the chapter. Guruji, the amazing Shiva. Guruji, in spite of being Lord Shiva himself, always kept his connection with his Sangat very simple. In a way, though, it was nice. For if he had not interacted like a human, we would not have been able to approach him so easily. If he had let us know of his true self, a relationship with him would have become unimaginable for a lesser mortal like me. He was our Guru and also our father, the head of the family, the ever-loving mother. We could go in front of him and cry. We could laugh. He would cut jokes and we would enjoy those. He would appear visibly upset and we would get scared. By coming down to our level, he made it possible for us to relate with him. Now we know better, principally because the new Sangat has shown us and taught us all the while that Lord Shiva himself sat on that asana. Of course, there were inklings of who he was. Once a devotee who had been a childhood friend of Guruji spent an evening with me. He told me an amazing story of Guruji's early student years. They were giving an exam together in class. A boy stopped writing as there was no ink in his fountain pen. A very young Guruji looked at him, asked for his pen, blew at it, and the pen started writing again. The teacher saw what had transpired and suspected the kids were trying to exchange information. He asked them what they were talking about. Guruji told the teacher exactly what had happened. The teacher straightaway took Guruji to the principal, who gave Guruji another pen and asked him to fill it up. Guruji did just that, to his considerable astonishment. My takeaway is that our Guruji did not acquire these capabilities through some kind of sadhana or tapasya. He was born divine. He was an avatar, a descent of Godhead into a human body. He did not become enlightened or attained self-realization. He is forever Shiva. Few personal instances of his divinity happened with my wife and me. These are instances we can only term supernatural, as way beyond the scope of human understanding. We are privy to instances that make the laws of physics look foolish and appear to defy the known theory of time and space. Instances that mocked at the foundation of all natural laws. Cause must come before effect. Devotees would come to know, as time went by, that Guruji could manifest prasad out of thin air. He would get prasad for his sangat from Sachkhand, the highest abode of divinity. I came across devotees who had the great fortune of partaking of this prasad and shared that experience to us as a satsang. I would often yearn for these blessings from Guruji Maharaj myself. One night, as I was sleeping, I had Maharaj's darshan. He gave me a sweet, likely a barfi. He was sitting on a chair with a table in front. He told me to take the barfi, but not to finish it completely, and to keep it for later. He instructed me about what that prasad would be used. Though it was not a Saturday, I still decided to visit Empire State the next day and have Guruji's darshan. My wife was content with her Saturday routine and decided to give it a pass. A few other devotees agreed to accompany me. We were all in the mandir on that day. Halfway through a Shabad, the music stopped. Somebody whispered in my ear that Maharaj was going to distribute divine prasad. I had goosebumps. My dream was about to come true. Guruji's hands were folded a little above his forehead, and then out of nowhere, a sweet appeared in his hand. It was a small peda. There were around 250 devotees present that day. Colonel Joshi uncle told the Sangat seated in the rear, which included me, to go to the first floor and wait. Very reluctantly, I moved to the first floor, thinking that the little quantity of prasad would be finished much before my turn. That thought made me sad. I wanted to stay back. I wanted the divine prasad. The previous night's dream was still afresh in my mind. I sat there with Grewal uncle seated by my side. I made my apprehensions known to him, that I was fortunate enough to be present when divine prasad was being produced, but it would be over by the time my turn came. That was not fair. He pressed my shoulder and said that even if the whole of Delhi showed up, the prasad would still not finish. I would get it, he proclaimed. Minutes later, the Sangat from the first floor was called down and we queued up. I saw an old devotee beside Guruji, holding the prasad carefully on a white handkerchief spread over his hands. When my turn came, Maharaj gave me a substantial amount of prasad. I'm sure if everybody had that much prasad, it would have been finished among the first 20 devotees. But the entire Sangat had that prasad, and half of it still remained. That portion was given to the devotee holding the divine prasad in his hands. He was asked to take it home as his blessings. Partaking the Sachkhand prasad was not like eating anything else. As soon as it was on the tongue, its effects were felt all over the body. As I put it in my mouth, it instantly reached and cooled my entire body. The prasad was full of fragrance. I had a little and, as advised by Grewal uncle, took home the rest. I remembered my dream, shared a bit within the family, and kept the rest as instructed. Even all these years since, it continues to be the most precious benediction we have at home. I await Maharaj's instructions for what to do with it. It is a truism for us devotees that anybody who gets Maharaj's divine prasad is blessed. My doubts, if any, were dispelled by Grewal uncle. Those days, we always found ourselves sitting together on the first floor, where the old Sangat sat, while the new ones got an opportunity to be seated in front of Maharaj. On one occasion, Maharaj was seated on the cabinet next to the kitchen in his informal attire as we both arrived one after the other. I bowed my head, received his blessings, and took my place on the first floor. Grewal uncle also came up and sat next to me. Grewal uncle told me, Commander, Guruji has blessed you. He told me what has just happened. Guruji had said, Tere dost ka kalyan kar ditta. I have blessed your friend. He didn't understand the reference to the friend, so he asked, Guruji, keda dost? Guruji. Guruji said, Oh, tera dost commander. Could there be a bigger blessing for me than this? With his continued blessings, I have become a better and an improved version of my earlier self in every possible way. I can't take any credit for being who I am, and I'm doing what I do. We, the Sangat, are Guruji's blessings on display. On our own, we are good for nothing. For him to bring about such transformation is only possible because he is Shiva, the Lord who can rewrite destiny. The production of the Sachkhand Prasad is but one example of his divinity. What my wife experienced at Bade Mandir on another occasion was literally out of this world. Her experience, difficult to grasp at the time it happened, clearly shows how his divinity is everywhere, acting in several dimensions, different realms, all at the same time. Nobody ever gets elevated spiritually without an element of suffering. It is essential. If we are not suffering, we are getting nowhere. When we are enjoying life, when we are enjoying the physical world, we are essentially spending money from our bank account. But when we suffer, we put money back in our bank account. That is why only a poor, weak, or a sick person is in position to bless others. Likewise, the elderly who are suffering, the physical infirmity that brings also acquire the ability to bless. When we take care of them, we receive their blessings. Our parents can bless us. Our elders can bless us because they too have endured suffering. The rich and famous can't bless us. Remember, a blessing is something which one can only give if one has. Suffering empowers us. With suffering, our karmic bank account swells, and that can be shared with others. Never look at suffering unwelcomingly. Occasionally, it is the suffering, present or impending, that opens the door of Guruji's darbar for us. If we suffer, even as Guruji's Sangat, be rest assured that is a part of Guruji's plan to get us rid of our karmas and make us a worthy Sangat. Guruji and we are in this process together. We suffer, but a fraction of our dues, while Guruji takes on the remaining majority of the suffering upon himself. All this while, he won't leave our hand, no matter what. He has to do what he has to and endure and how much time it takes. He will make us blessings ready. For some, this whole process may take just a minute. For others, it may take 100 lifetimes, but happen it will. And in this journey of life and beyond, the Guru is forever going to hold our hand. The following experience of my wife will clarify this point further. It was the festive and joyous occasion of Guruji's birthday in 2004. My wife was inside the hall while I was attending to my seva conducted in the front of the kitchen. From inside the hall, up to 50 devotees were being taken outside for langar at a time so that more could be ushered into Guruji's presence. Suddenly, the kitchen paused, serving langar temporarily. Simultaneously, a large number of devotees landed from Punjab and entered the hall. Because of this rush of devotees, my wife found herself stuck right in front of Guruji, unable to move in either direction. Sevaks asked devotees to sit down where they were. My wife couldn't dare sit right next to Guruji Maharaj. Guruji looked at her and told her to sit down right there. Guruji himself removed his juttis and sat cross-legged on the asana, thus creating additional space for her to sit comfortably. As she sat, she was pushed further towards Guruji by the devotees from behind. Guruji's sacred juttis touched her right knee. She was so close to Maharaj. Great blessing. As the kitchen began serving langar after a while, she had to get up and go. She felt excruciating pain in the right knee, just where the juttis had touched her. She later told me that it was the worst kind of pain she had ever felt in her life, way more than what she had to bear during childbirth. One would rightly think that because she was so close to Guruji and had inadvertently touched Guruji's jutti, there could have been no bigger blessing. As she exited the main hall of Langar, she found herself in a different world. Langar wasn't being served here. Fully bearded devotees clad in white were simply floating in the air as they moved around chatting or singing happily to themselves. My wife was disoriented, in pain, sweating profusely and crying. Resting her head against a wall, my wife began looking for me. She approached one devotee who appeared familiar and asked him to look for me, convey that she was sick and in urgent need of medical attention. She wanted me to take her home immediately. This devotee completely ignored her. Then she approached another devotee, but he also ignored her. She tried to grab his hand to stop him physically, but her hand passed through him as if he was made up of smoke. She could not touch or grab him. Completely dejected, my wife dragged herself to the wall next to the kitchen and stood there crying. She thought she was dead because the people were phantasmal. She cried anew as she realized she had no bid farewell to the children and she couldn't go back. She was very angry with me for not being there to help her and when she needed me the most. Even when I am doing seva, I regularly come around to inquire about her well being. That day, too, I tried but could not spot her. I even asked around for her, but devotees couldn't tell me of her whereabouts. It was as if she had vanished into the thin air. We later figured out that my wife and I were in front of the kitchen at the same time, but she was in a different realm. My wife saw a bearded person hand her some langar. She saw only his beard and his feet, which reminded her of Guruji. She protested that she was in pain and didn't want to eat anything but ended up with the plate in her hand anyway. She noticed that the langar was not food as we knew it, but a charcoal colored substance. This person disappeared after giving her the plate. Realizing that his feet resembled those of Guruji's, she somehow persuaded herself to eat whatever that langar was, and then the langar plate vanished from her hand. She felt like vomiting but did not do so in front of the kitchen area and thought of going around to the washroom but was unable to walk. Yet, as she thought about going to the washroom, she was there. She vomited some black substance. Guruji only knows what it was. Immediately after, she found herself back in the normal plane of things. The washroom was as it used to be. The whole area where she had this experience had been snowy white, with everybody in white clothes. It had now dematerialized as she was back in the mandir. She came out of the washroom and the pain was gone. She walked but was sweating from head to toe. She came looking for me and sat on the step leading to the main darbar hall. At around 2 a.m., I finally found her there. She looked sick and miserable. I got really scared. At that moment, all that she wanted was to go home. I explained that I could not take her home without Guruji's permission. I, like other devotees, had the conviction that we were always safe inside the mandir. She protested, but I reiterated that we would go home only after receiving Guruji's permission. Even though I did not know what she had been through, I knew she was safe inside the mandir with Guruji. She protested that Guruji would hold me back for another hour while she would be suffering. I went inside and Guruji instantly granted me permission. He obviously knew. We drove back home. My wife woke me up the next morning with a cup of tea, and my reaction was to ask her to rest. She said there was nothing wrong with her and that she was fine and pain free. She told me what happened, yet I was none the wiser. We have always wondered what this experience meant. We had known that Guruji said his other world is white, so I believed she had gone to Guruji's afterlife world and came back. We could only make some sense of this experience after we heard a devotional Shabad that elaborated on how satsangs are significant. The Shabad's key line is, Aisi lal तुझ बिन कौन करे, गरीब नवाज गुसाइयां मेरे माथे चत्थर धरे. The Vyakhya or explanation of this Shabad tells how the king of Mandi became a follower of Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj and would visit him for darshan and satsang. One day, at the camp of the Guru Maharaj, he heard a devotee hymning a verse which said that what had been decreed could not be overwritten. The king asked Guru Maharaj if no alteration or mending of destiny was possible. If we had to go through the effect of karma, what was the point of satsangs? Guru Maharaj deferred answering him that day, and the king went back to his palace. That night, the king had a dream. He saw that he had become a sweeper in his next life and died in poverty, leaving behind his wife and children. The next day, Guru Maharaj took him for a ride on a horseback to a village. The villagers reacted with amazement and some indignation at the king's presence. A sweeper who looked just like the king was of the same age had passed away the day before. They were annoyed that now he was tripsing about in royal robes instead of taking care of his family. His wife and children also couldn't accept him as a king. The king maintained he was the king of Mandi, even though he felt sorry for the plight of the family. The villagers insisted he was the recently deceased sweeper. The guru stood apart, smiling, when when the recently when the problem came to him for her resolution. He asked the villagers to dig up the sweeper's grave. If a body was found, it would quite conclusively prove the sweeper was dead and that this was not a masquerade. And so it was. The body of the sweeper was indeed found in the grave. As Guru Maharaj and his royal follower rode back, the king again wanted to know the benefit of attending a satsang. Guru Maharaj told him that he had just experienced the benefits. Guru Maharaj explained that in the life to come, the king had to be born as a lowly sweeper and live up to 35 years, getting married, having children, and passing his days in penury. But because he had come to the Sadguru or Poon Guru, one entire life cycle of his misery causing karmas had been washed away through a single dream. The karmas had to be born, but through the supreme grace of the Sadguru, those karmas were made to give their fruits in a dimension where suffering was made unreal. As Guruji also used to say, Shul koi sui bana diya. That is, the terrible suffering was lessened to as little as a needle's jab worth of pain. We understood that my wife had also gone through an experience in a dimension where Guruji had converted and truncated her suffering to just a few hours of pain and traveled to his other abode. Such is our Guru. There is nothing beyond him and can never be. As Shiva, he enjoys complete freedom. There is none that can thwart his will. He obeys no human strictures related to social mores or conduct. He only adopts these to please and bless his devotees. Witness Shiva's marriage to Mother Parvati, where he dropped his ascetic dress code for that of a groom. Similarly, Guruji too flouted the conventional norms of attire associated with saints. Even small incidents show his overlordship of all the lokas, all the different dimensions of existence. During a major function at Bade Mandir, there was a sudden influx of Sangat, requiring additional langar preparations. I was asked to go to procure some wheat flour. It was 1 o'clock at night, all the shops had closed. Accompanied by another senior sevak, I went looking for wheat flour. When the Guru gives you a seva, the Guru also creates a situation where that seva is indeed fulfilled. This is the beauty of faith. We stopped at a small house where an elderly lady was sleeping outside on a cot. With folded hands, we addressed her as grandma and simply asked her for flour. She told us to pick up 2 bags from inside her home. We were complete strangers and didn't even have money to pay her at that time. We told her we would settle the payment the day after, and she said that was okay, and we were back at the satsang in 10 minutes. This satsang may on the face of it appear trivial, but behind the successful completion of this seva is the Guru's large and overpowering presence, always reminding us that he is with us. We do not need anyone else in our life. He is all that we need. All we have to do is have faith in him. We did not question even for a second that we would not find wheat flour at that odd hour. I'm sure that Grandma also received Guruji's blessings that day. Similarly, during a Diwali night at Empire State, Guruji Maharaj decided to distribute sweets to the Sangat as prasad. He asked the sevaks to get hold of some mithai. The sevaks who went for the Guru-inspired errand found a single shop open again late at night, and they emptied it of mithai and brought it all back. I had not gone out with the sevaks then, and I remember Guruji, just to make sure that everybody got some same prasad, mixed all the mithai together with his hands. Everybody got everything, and that too in the huge quantity. That was a pointer to his boundless generosity. Maharaj always gave us a lot to eat. The other thing he gave us in heaps was his grace. That Guruji is Lord Shiva should now be evident. One of the foremost characteristics of Shiva is his compassion. His love is such that he takes out others' sufferings upon himself. There is no better example of this than Lord Shiva drinking the poison of halala that came up from this churning of the ocean, lest it kills all creation. All the gods drank up the amrit or nectar of immortality as the supreme yogi. He keeps the poison in his throat, not allowing it to come down to his belly, where all the worlds reside, ever since he has been known as Nilkantha, or the blue-throated one. All Shivlingas have a vessel atop them from which water drops to soothe the heat of the tapas Lord Shiva undertakes to neutralize the poison. The readiness and ease with which Guruji took his devotees' problems upon himself are legendary. Just like Lord Shiva consumed the poison, Maharaj drew away the poison of our life. And this is not theoretical or philosophical position. Each day, Maharaj would suffer on account of accepting sufferings of his Sangat upon himself. A devotee asked him once why Guruji had to suffer. By way of answer, he asked the devotees a counter question. What did she do? This lady was a politician. She said she took care of the people for her constituency. Guruji told her that taking care of his devotees was his job. This is God's job. This is the job of the Guru. To elevate his Sangat of their pain, suffering, and their problems. In fact, even devotees come to partake of the Shiva Tattva when they are compassionate and ready to help others or try and ease their suffering. There is another parallel between Guruji and Lord Shiva. Shiva is the consummate yogi. He is in samadhi even when he is in the world. He does not need a separate time or dimension to be meditative. Resultantly, his body is of pure light and it also generates heat. Devotees should know that the kitchen cabinet, a shelf space outside the kitchen on which Guruji sat informally, was affected similarly. The intense heat of Guruji's aura blackened the varnish. It was there for all to see. Another sign of this divine Guru, no matter what the weather, Guruji would take a freezing iced sweet lemon drink as related in the chapter on him coming to Gurgaon in January. Once Ma Parvati asked Lord Shiva, how is he to be pleased? He said he was not easily pleased with yagyas, rituals, and exoteric acts. He simply wants love and devotion. Give him that, and Bholinath becomes the beloved of his devotees. Same in the case with Guruji. He took his devotees away from all hypocrisy and only wanted sincerity of action and devotional longing. As Shiva, Guruji ignores the deficiencies of his devotees and stands by them. He blesses everybody, no matter who they are and what their standing is. He doesn't pick and choose. He grants them refuge at his feet. The overriding qualification is their love for him. His stories are many. He himself is infinite. And our scriptures say, Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. Don't try to understand Guruji. Just be happy. When you have Guruji in your life, there is no need for you to compare destinies with anybody else. As far as the Sangat is concerned, they are here with Guruji and they will always be with Guruji. Guruji used to say that my Sangat is with me here in this earthly world and with me in afterlife as well. Who else can give us this assurance but God Himself? We are not going to be lost ever. We will always be with our beloved Guruji. Stay blessed as always. Be with Maharaj and always live under the umbrella of his blessings. Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji, and thank you very much, Sangatji. This is the end of the chapter.
Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji. Thank you so much, Ekta Aunty, for the beautiful reading of the amazing chapter, which we all know that Guruji is our amazing Shiva. बहुत बहुत शुक्राना गुरुजी आज के सेशन के लिए और आज की इस ब्लिसफुल सेवा के लिए हम सब के लिए सर्वत का भला करना गुरु महाराज. Over to host Aunty.
संगत जी सब आज्ञा ले लीजिए. जय गुरु जी महाराज.
जय गुरु जी महाराज. शुक्राना
जय गुरु जी, शुक्राना गुरु जी, मेहर गुरु जी.
जय गुरु जी. शुक्राना गुरु जी.